Hello everyone, let's take a look at range of motion during gait. The gait cycle is defined as a period from the heel contact of a foot to the heel contact of the same foot. Gait is divided into two phases, the stance phase and the swing phase. The swing phase composes 40% of the total gait cycle, while the stance phase comprises 60% of the total gait cycle. Let's define the events that make up the stance phase. The first event is initial contact. It marks the beginning of the total gait cycle. The main goal of this event is to establish the foot's contact with the ground. The foot flat at 8% is an event where the full plantar surface of the foot contacts the ground. Mid-stance at 30% is when the femur is directly over the standing foot. Heel off at 40% marks a period when the heel lifts off the ground. And toe off at 60% is a period when the toe leaves the ground. Now, let's take a look at the swing phase events. We have three main events: acceleration 75%, mid-swing at 85%, and deceleration at 100%, completing the gait cycle. Finally, let's take a look at the ranges of motion. At initial contact, the ankle is in neutral position. As the foot lowers to the ground, the ankle moves into 5 degrees of plantar flexion. As the body moves over the foot, the ankle dorsiflexes to about 10 degrees. In the last two stance phases, the ankle undergoes plantar flexion. At heel off, the ankle is in neutral, and toe off, the ankle is maximally plantar flexed to about 20 degrees. At the initial contact, the knee starts off neutral, just like the ankle. Then, for purposes of shock absorption and energy conservation, it moves to about 15 degrees of flexion. At mid-stance, the knee doesn't quite fully reach the locked out position. Once again, for purposes of energy conservation, it stays at about 5 degrees of flexion. At heel off, the knee is back to neutral position and then slowly undergoes flexion to about 30 degrees to prepare for acceleration phase of the gait. The hip is flexed to 20 degrees at initial contact. Notice that it moves from flexed position to extended position through the stance phase and from extended to a flexed position in the swing phase. At foot flat, the hip is flexed to about 15 degrees and neutral at mid-stance. At heel off, the hip is in 15 degrees of extension and reaches a peak extension range of motion at toe off. Now let's take a look at the swing phase range of motion. From acceleration to deceleration, ankle dorsiflexes to clear the ground. The range of motion changes from 10 degrees of plantar flexion to 0 degrees neutral. The knee moves from maximally flexed position of 60 degrees at acceleration to fully extension at deceleration. And the hip keeps moving into a maximally flexed position at 30 degrees at deceleration. Okay, let's recap the peak ranges of motion during gait. The ankle has to be able to dorsiflex to about 10 degrees for mid-stance and plantar flex 20 degrees for toe off. The knee has to be able to fully extend for initial contact and the heel off and flex to about 60 degrees at acceleration. The hip has to be able to move from 30 degrees of flexion at deceleration to 20 degrees of extension at toe off. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, give it a like.